Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tempe City Council regular council meeting agenda in the Harry E. Mitchell Government Center. Apologies for being a little bit late. We were finishing an executive session upstairs. Item number 1 is call to order. Council meetings can be watched in real time via Cox Cable Channel 11 and at tempe.gov/tempe11. Members of the public may also attend the meeting virtually through Microsoft Teams. I'd now like to invite everyone who's able and willing to join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Nope. If you want to go ahead, I know we've got a video here too, just regarding, we're trying something a little bit different this evening. Usually I read the kind of rules for proper etiquette during council meetings, but this time around, I think to save my voice a little bit, staff decided to film a video. So I think Eddie's going to go ahead and show that video.
This time, disruptive behavior will not be allowed. Continued disruptive behavior will lead to removal from the council chambers. We need to be able to hear everyone in the room. Behavior that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of any city council meeting is not helpful and is not permitted. This includes behavior both inside and outside of the council chambers. Should individuals inside the council chambers become disruptive so that city business is not able to be conducted, the mayor will first ask that the individuals allow city business to be completed. There will be time for public comment during the call to the audience portion of the meeting. If no cooperation, the mayor will issue a verbal warning and let them know that the continued disruptive behavior will lead to removal from the council chambers. If there is still no cooperation, the mayor will issue a second verbal warning and let them know that the continued disruptive behavior will lead to removal from the council chambers. If there is no cooperation after asking and 2 verbal warnings, then the mayor will ask security officers to remove only those individuals who are causing the disruption. Security personnel should not engage in any way, but only escort them from the council chambers. If individuals refuse to leave, security personnel shall warn them that they are trespassing and that the next step will be arrest by a Tempe police officer. Tempe officers may have to arrest if individuals refuse to leave. Charges for trespass and disorderly conduct may apply, as well as other charges. Should anyone be asked to be removed, the mayor will recess the meeting.
Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate it. That brings me to item number 4, meeting minutes. This evening I will be assisted by Councilmember Garland, but she will first do the land acknowledgement statement.
All right. Thank you so much, Mayor. I appreciate it. We wish to acknowledge that Tempe is the homeland of the Native people who have inhabited this landscape since time immemorial. These ancestral lands of the Otham, known as Pima, Peeposh, known as Maricopa, and their ancestors extend far beyond our city. This land continues to be spiritually connected to the Otham of the Salt River Pima, Maricopa County community, and the Gila River Indian community. And we accept the responsibility of stewarding those places and solemnly pledge to consider this commitment in every action. And then, Mayor, if you'd like me to go ahead and make the motion.
Yes, please. So, Councilmember Garland, if you'd look to approve approval of City Council meeting minutes, item 4A.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the council meeting minutes 4A1 through 4A5.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Garland and seconded by Councilmember Keating. Please vote. Voice vote. Okay, and that item passes unanimously, 7-0. Next up, we have item 4B, acceptance of board, commission, and committee meeting minutes. Councilmember Garland.
I'd like to make a motion to accept board, commission, and committee meeting minutes 4B1 through 4B12.
It's been moved by Councilmember Garland and seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote. Aye. And that item also passes unanimously, 7-0. Next up, I've got a few announcements here under item number 5. If council would like to join me at the front.
No, look at that. Are you going to put it in front of court? Yeah. Get in the middle of us.
All right. So first up here, we have under item 5A1, Lon Griffith's Lifetime of Service Recognition Day Proclamation. I'd like to invite Lon to come up, as well as his family, who's with him too. So I will tell you all, I had the opportunity to meet Lon first in 2005, when I first had the opportunity to join the Kiwanis Club of Tempe. I've been a member of that club now for 18 years, and Lon has been just an absolute hallmark of that organization. He has done the newsletter for each and every year. He does it at no cost to the club. It's just something that he does to make sure that Kiwanians know exactly what's going on in terms of these service projects and things they're doing in the community to benefit the children of the city of Tempe and beyond. He's also just an incredible human being. He's someone that we have all long admired, not just in the Kiwanis Club, but frankly across the city of Tempe, because he's a person who truly believes in service. It's not about recognition, it's not about accolades or getting credit for anything, it's just because he's just an incredibly good and decent human being. And I remember one of my favorite meetings with Lon ever was when I was first getting into public service. He and I had an opportunity to go over to Extreme Bean Coffee Shop over at McClintock and Southern, and I was sort of talking to him about how someone runs a campaign. And one of the things I didn't know he was going to do was he actually had saved pretty much every direct mail piece for about 20 to 25 years that he had received during council elections. And so he had an opportunity to pull out that large packet of information, and he showed me all of them. So I had a chance to flip through them and frankly gain quite a few ideas that I'm sure I used as I ran for office. But that's just one of my funny stories about, working with Lon and knowing Lon for so many years. But it's everybody knows who's ever come across him and who's worked with him at the Kiwanis Club or University Presbyterian Church or the East Valley Tribune or any number of places. He's just an absolutely incredible man. So I'm just honored to be able to read a proclamation. And so the proclamation reads, whereas Lon Griffiths, a resident of Tempe since June of 1984, has completed 40 years of journalism as a reporter, editor, and columnist for various publications, including the Tempe Daily News and Tribune, the Town Crier, and Cox, Arizona newspaper. And whereas he displayed exceptional community involvement and leadership as an elder, deacon, and trustee of the Presbyterian Church, board member of the American Red Cross and Tempe History Society, and former chair of the Tempe Community Council, Tempe Community Action Agency, Tempe Salvation Army Corps, and the Adolescent Pregnancy and Parenting Program with the Tempe Union High School District. And whereas Lon devoted 37 years as a member of the Kiwanis Club of Tempe, years marked by serving as club president, publishing the book Club of Clubs, 60-year history of the Kiwanis Club of Tempe, and becoming a 5-time recipient of the club's Kiwanian of the Year Award. And whereas his passion for and achievements in service were acknowledged through awards such as the Tempe Community Council's Don Carlos Humanitarian Award and Tempe Leadership's Outstanding Community Leadership Award, an induction into the Arizona Veterans Hall of Fame in 2011, and Tempe History Society's Living Legends Hall of Fame in 2004. And whereas Lon truly dedicated himself to improving the lives of the people around him through civic engagement and community leadership. And whereas the city of Tempe recognizes the amazing work of Lon Griffiths and his commitment to the Tempe community, the state of Arizona, and his nation, where his legacy will live on forever in the hearts of all of those who he continues to impact. Now, therefore, I, Corey Woods, Mayor of the City of Tempe, Arizona, do hereby declare July 27th, 2023 as Lon Griffith's Lifetime of Service Recognition Day in Tempe, Arizona. Oh, here we go. Eddie, I want to give one.
Okay, there you go.
Show it.
You want to show it, Bob?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, all right.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're trying to screw you up.
Absolutely, you're good.
I think it's photo time.
Lon, I wanted to know, did you want to say a couple of words, actually? And also, just in case, I want to say for his family and for the Kiwanis Club members who I know who are all here to support him this evening, if you'd like to come down as well after he speaks to come get a photo, we would love to have you. So, Lon.
Okay, I've been an editor and writer for almost 60 years for very many publications. Almost always been an editor. But I've had an epic adventure with the Tempe community. I graciously appreciate this recognition tonight. When I arrived in 1984 to the city of Tempe as a city editor of the Daily News, I began meeting and knowing so many people here, and they asked me to serve on their boards, their committees, and their agencies. People like Tom Canassi, Bob Ashcroft, Linda Bolduc of the Tempe Red Cross Committee, and my first engagement right out of Exchange Club. Over the years, I have had some kind of a role with a couple dozen organizations here. Most are still very thriving. Oddly, I was president of the Tempe Community Action Agency Board, signing payroll checks there every other week. At the same time, I chaired the Tempe Salvation Army Advisory Board. I always wondered if there was a conflict of interest. But the mission was always the same. The Tribune newspapers generously allowed me to come and go at all times of the day to attend community meetings, though it meant working lots of nights late back in the office to catch up. But Tempe sufficiently honored me with the Don Carlos Humanitarian Award 28 years ago, so that I think tonight is just a lot more deja vu. The Kiwanis Club of Tempe, I must say, which I think about 20 people here from my club here tonight, has barely been the horse that especially carried me through almost 4 decades of service. So thank you, Mayor Woods, and thank you, City Council. You have given me a big boost to a guy who sits and watches reruns of the Lawrence Welk Show on Saturday afternoon on Arizona PBS.
Any Kiwanians or family want to come down? Come on down. Council, let's see if we can move out of the way and let them get some photos.
No, we're not getting on this picture.
You're Kiwanis.
You're Kiwanis. We're still Kiwanis. Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
Oh, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, pretty good, pretty good.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, I had to
Where's Patty? Yeah. So glad this worked out. Joseph, you get back here. Yeah.
Is it just the Kiwanis?
Yeah, this is Kiwanis.
And family.
And family.
Yeah.
This is Councilmember Garland from the heavens. As a fellow Kiwanian, Lon Griffith, you rock. I love you.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, thank you. You done good, buddy.
Congratulations, Lon.
Patty, Get somebody to invite me.
Okay, I'll invite you. I haven't had any snaps yet.
Congratulations. Yeah, see you soon. All right. Are we done down here, or do we have more?
No, we got one more.
We have another one. Okay. Are we staying here, or what are we doing?
Come down after we finish swearing in, or do we stand next to me?
No, we can come down. You do it. We can go up and then come back down for it.
That's what I prefer. But again, it's the
Yeah.
triggering of the anxiety. Is
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right, next up, my next item is the swearing in, the oath of office for our new police chief, Kenneth McCoy. Love to see if you could join me down here, Chief. All right. So please repeat after me, Chief. I, Kenneth D. McCoy Jr.,
I, Kenneth D. McCoy Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the State of Arizona
of the State of Arizona
and the Charter,
and the Charter,
codes, and ordinances
codes, and ordinances
of the City of Tempe,
of the City of Tempe,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and defend them
and defend them
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
of Chief of Police
Chief of Police
in and for the City of Tempe,
in and for the City of Tempe,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God, or so I do affirm.
So help me God, or so I do affirm.
Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations, Chief. Come on down, Council. And of course, Chief, it's not official until you and I both sign. So I'm going to have you sign right in front of everyone here. We have plenty of witnesses.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. All right, and next up, we have item. Oh, that's right. Thank you. First, for the record, too, that is my incredible new aide, Mariana Pena, as well, making a cameo during her first council meeting. So give her a big round of applause. So I want to next up announce the Tempe Police Department awarded accreditation from the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. This is actually going to be under 5B1, under city manager announcements. So I want to say, first of all, congratulations to our police department for achieving the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation. This rigorous and prestigious accreditation process is a systematic method of conducting a detailed voluntary internal review of law enforcement agencies' policies, procedures, operations, and training. ALEP's mission is to ensure compliance with established standards and a clear statement of professional objectives, which represent current and professional industry best practices in the safe, effective, efficient, and non-discriminatory delivery of law enforcement services in the state of Arizona. Thank you to Chief McCoy and his staff for their dedication to continued improvement, accountability, and excellence in their service to our community. Thank you. We've got many members of Tempe PD here if you'd like to come down and join for the photo.
Brian wants to go. Oh, come on.
All right, next up here is item 5A3, United Arizona Employees Association, or UAEA, Jackie Owishka scholarship presentation. I'd now like to invite Billy Vickers up to come join us.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Billy Vickers, president of the United Arizona Employee Association. I stand before you today with great pleasure and a sense of gratitude as we gather here to induct the recipients of the 2023 UAEA Jackie Owishka Scholarship Program. Allow me to express my sincere thanks for graciously including us in your agenda this evening. And the UAE Scholarship Program sets forth a rigorous criteria to ensure that only the most deserving individuals are awarded this prestigious recognition as a UAEA Jackie Scholar. To be eligible, the applicants must either be a member or a child of a member. They are required to submit an original essay chosen from 6 topics, along with their academic transcripts, a comprehensive summary of their honors, awards, community service, and other notable extracurricular activities. To maintain a fair and unbiased evaluation, the applications are carefully assessed by our evaluation committee. In keeping with our commitment to impartiality, all applicant materials are thoroughly reviewed without revealing the identity of the applicants. I am delighted to announce that based upon their exceptional performance and outstanding achievements, the evaluation committee has recommended 2 exceptional students to be the recipients of this year's scholarship. It is a testament to their hard work and dedication, and we are proud to honor them this evening. Thank you for your attention and support as we continue to invest in the future of our community through the UAEA Jackie Owishka Scholarship Program. Without further ado, I yield the floor back to you, Mayor, to help us celebrate and recognize these remarkable students as Jackie Scholars, and each will receive a $1,000 scholarship. Pleasure.
All right. So the first 2023 UAEA Jackie Scholar is Mason Kaminsky, who was the son of City of Tempe employee Diana Kaminsky, who works in community development. I'd love to see if they could come up and join us. So Mason here has a GPA of 3.903. I wanted to make sure to get all of those numbers in there. And he's starting his junior year at the University of Arizona, and he's majoring in neuroscience. Mason has been included on the Dean's List 3 times, including 2 with distinctions. He successfully completed 11 honors courses with 10 grades of A and 1 B. For his essay, Mason selected, tell us about a piece of media, so film, album, literature, or game, that you believe everyone should see, listen to, or play, and then, of course, why. So Mason wrote that everyone should read The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. He goes on to state, and the Karamazov family each of them showing their humanity in their flawed nature and the way their characters develop as the story goes on. In summary, Mason explains, Dostoevsky approaches his stories from a much more character-focused perspective, relying on great use of character development to drive the plot, keep the reader interested, and capture the nature of humanity in his works. Dostoevsky's greatness stems from his uncanny ability to capture essential aspects of humanity in his characters. In exploring the fundamental questions and ideologies in his characters' hearts, his reader contemplates the central principles of being human. Mason has received numerous honors and awards with highlights, including Falcon Award for football and tennis, the Ironman Award for playing 3 or more sports, National Spanish Exam Gold Medal, BSA National Outdoor Awards for camping 86 nights and hiking over 235 miles. Received the Order of the Arrow, which is Scouting's National Honor Society, and many more awards and honors. He played O-line varsity football, goalkeeper for varsity soccer, along with tennis singles and doubles. Mason gained experience in his major of neuroscience through working at the Cohen Research Lab, where he reports he examined the effects of ketamine on reducing dyskinesia and the associated 80 megahertz spike in a levodopa-treated rat model of Parkinson's disease. It's all here. I'm telling you, he's an amazing young man. Mason's goal is to attend medical school after completing his undergraduate degree. Congratulations to Mason Kaminsky. Come over here now in the middle here. You gotta come next. I can't take that photo.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, and our second UAEA Jackie Scholar is Islana Bermudez, the daughter of City of Tempe employee Hilda Bermudez, who works in the Tempe Police Department. So I'd like to have them join us up here right now. Here we go. So Islana has a GPA of 3.9 and is starting her freshman year at Chandler Gilbert Community College, majoring in nursing. Islana completed over 16 honors courses and several AP courses. She's been in the National Honor Society for 2 years and graduated high school in May, cum laude with honors. For her essay, Islana selected, "What is your dream job?" She writes that after watching nurses have courage and resilience to save lives while putting their own at risk during COVID-19, I knew that being a nurse would make a difference in my community. It would give me this sense of gratification, knowing that I'm using my platform to better my community and to help people who are in need of medical attention. I would also be able to fill the shoes of my family, who have dedicated their careers to giving back as well. Becoming a nurse just overall feels right. And knowing that I will have a voice and will have a platform to make a difference in this world is all I could have wanted in a career. I never really had a dream job growing up. Instead, I had this desire to be heard and to make a difference in my community. So Islana plays soccer, volunteers at Feed My Starving Children, and she makes paper cranes for hospice patients. Once again, let's give Islana a big round of applause as our Jackie Scholar number 2. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next up, item 5A4, which is Development Review Commission appointment. I want to congratulate Larry Tom on his appointment to the Development Review Commission. That brings me to item 5B, City Manager's reports and announcements. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one announcement. Thank you for taking 5B1 and congratulating our police department again for the accreditation. For 5B2 is acknowledging our very own Chad Schleicher, Economic Development Program Manager, who recently received the inaugural Emerging Economic Development Professional of the Year from the Arizona Association of Economic Development. This award recognizing outstanding achievement in emerging economic development, advancements, involvement, and empowerment of future economic development. Is he laughing? See there, Chad, there you are. Many professionals, what we hear is lots of nominations were submitted for this inaugural award, and it was a very tough competition, but our very own Chad Schleicher received the award. So congratulations, Chad. We just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge you publicly. Thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations, Chad. Thank you, Madam City Manager. That brings us to item number 6, public appearances. According to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council may only discuss matters listed on this agenda for discussion and legal action. The purpose of the open call to the public is to allow individuals to address the City Council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the City Council. No person shall speak more than once, and there is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers present at the podium must state their name and city of residence and provide a speaker card. Members of the public shall refrain from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks and from becoming boisterous while addressing the City Council or while attending the meeting. Speakers will be taken first come, first serve in the order in which the cards are received. Speakers' visual aids and appearances by phone or recordings are not allowed. Council members are prohibited by state law from taking action on, commenting, or discussing a matter raised by a member of the public, even if asked to do so by a member of the public, so long as the subject discussed by the speaker is not listed as a specific agenda item for council's consideration for discussion and legal action. At the conclusion of public appearances, the council may ask the city manager to review a matter or place a matter on a future agenda. That being said, I now will go to my public appearance cards here. And as I said, I will read these in the order in which they were received. The first speaker I have this evening is Rosa Harrison. Hi, come on forward here. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll be really brief. The main reason I wanted to come before you was to introduce myself. I am a new business owner in Tempe, although I do reside in Chandler. But basically, we're opening a lounge and cafe, which is a really meticulously crafted social experience. By day, we're a cafe offering cappuccinos, specialty coffees, those types of things. By night, you're able to roll the stress of the day away with live music and a chef-inspired menu. The reason that I wanted to introduce myself and let you know who I am is because we've noticed a huge problem with the vagrants in the area. And so what we'd like to do is, first of all, make sure that you all are aware in our plaza, it is an issue, and they are kind of, damaging the property and, kind of tearing things up. So what we'd like to do is be proactive and maybe put some measures in place that can help them, I guess, maybe just not be so desperate for shade and water and rummaging through the trash cans because they're hungry. So basically, we're going to, over the next few weeks, we're going to be curating our own policies and hopefully presenting them to you so that we can kind of get some things in place that can assist. But we're hoping that we can get your help to kind of clean up the area because it's pretty bad over there.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. God bless you guys.
Thank you so much. Madam Smith.
Where's that? Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. So we are the old Fuddruckers. You guys know the old Fuddruckers on Priest and Elliott. That's the building that I purchased. So that's where we are. So very easy to locate. It's going to be awesome. We're opening in October.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Madam City Manager, too, is there a way we could follow up Ms. Harrison afterwards, or maybe have a member of our Human Services team reach out?
Yeah, Chief Reese is already reaching out.
There he is right there. Can also just continue the further embarrassment too. Once again, our fire medical rescue chief, Greg Reese, is now one of our interim deputy city managers overseeing public safety. He didn't even turn around. He was like, I have business to take care of, Corey. I got to go. All right, the next speaker I have this evening is Jason Harrison. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Council and Mayor Woods. How you guys doing? Good. This one better. Oh, man. Yeah. Big guy. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Eddie has all the tricks.
My name is Jason Harrison. Y'all just met my wife, Rosa Harrison. We own 2 different types of businesses. She likes services in the community. I do as well. The name of my business is Elevate Youth and Family Services. My company is based in Phoenix, and I'm a resident of Chandler, Arizona. But primarily, we service over 100 children and adolescents in Guadalupe and Tempe, Arizona. All right. The purpose of my visit is to get pointed in the right direction to do a gun buyback program funded by myself with my own personal money, as well as my business partners, Rosa and Byron Jackson, there in the back. And the reason for this effort is in direct response to some sad news. One of the kids in my program, Alize Valenzuela, a 15-year-old girl, was lost on July 25th to gun and gang violence on the Tempe-Guadalupe border. So I'm here kind of just to get some help and some backing from council, and I feel like if I get that, I can make Guadalupe and Tempe a better place.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yes,
we just missed the chief, I know, but I didn't want to ruin his moment, but I wanted to get pointed in the right direction.
City Manager, can we also get him connected to Tempe Union with me and everybody else? Because this is something we all can help out with.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. The next speaker I have this evening is David Sokolowski, who I think will be appearing virtually this evening. All right. Mr. Sokolowski, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name is David Sokolowski and I live in Tempe. I'm very disappointed right now because I feel the city is contributing to the housing crisis. At least in this situation, it's the city that has been restricting the supply of housing, even though our state currently demands 300,000 units to solve the supply shortage. In one example, the city of Tempe zoned the Apache Central project for 65 units per acre, but put a limit of 50 units per acre, costing our state 60 market rate units and 60 low income units. Why can't the city get out of the way and let developers work? The city of Tempe reduced the Marshall project by half, costing our state 141 units that would have contributed to our state's housing goal. And literally all the city needs to do is just get out of the way. You will also vote on the Sky project that could add 281 units to the state's housing goal. Voting yes will allow the solution to the housing crisis to move forward. If you vote no, then you will become a direct cause of the housing crisis. If I add up all of the units that I'm aware of right now, Tempe has the opportunity to contribute 542 units to our state, but is restricting the supply of housing during a housing shortage. Honestly, that's why we needed to pass SB 1117, because it's very clear to me that Tempe is not capable of meeting the demand for housing based on current demand or future job growth. I have heard the city is doing everything it can to solve the housing crisis, but the city might be considered a leading cause. The city council should immediately ask for the developer to bring back the original project with the full 330 units, and then you should vote to approve both of the large development projects on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. The next speaker I have this evening is Kim Gaffney Loza. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Kim Gaffney Loza. I'm a neighbor in North Tempe. And of course, you know that I'm here to talk about the desert management plan that we've been anxious to get for over a decade. I really think this fits in with our land acknowledgement because we are stewards of the land, and this land's been neglected for so long and unfortunately has suffered a great deal as a result of it. So I'm urging you to please approve the contract with Logan Simpson. The other thing I just want to make mention of too is with our ranger program, allowing them the opportunity to be able to give citations. I just know from the many times I have sent to people, you know, what they are doing violated our regulations in the parks and preserves. To put it mildly, they ignore them or give me some rather colorful feedback about letting them know what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. So please, please, you know my passion on this. Please pass both of those two things. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. The next speaker I have this evening is Darlene Justice. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Darlene Justice. Lived in Tempe for a long time, many years. I too am here to talk about 7B9 for the preserves that we're getting the management plan. This will be wonderful because poor Papago Park has just been neglected in many ways. This will be a great management plan. We'll end up eventually getting trails marked, and a whole bunch of great things are going to happen. We're doing all of the housing right now. Open space has become more and more important. The park is becoming more and more important because there are more and more people who do not have access to open space. The other thing is I thank you very much for going back to park rangers. We had really good effort with them years ago, and it solved a lot of problems. I think that this time it'll be even better. It's really focused. And one thing, please remember, we have turf parks and we have desert parks. They are quite different. And so we need to make sure that the park rangers are versed in both areas, and especially the desert. I even mentioned the other day that Tempe PD does have horseback, and there are occasions when on horseback in Papago Park, the preserve, you can see things you don't see otherwise. You can see down in the arroyos. But I thank you very much for both of these. This is a huge thing for Tempe, and thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. The next card I have here is from Dr. Jerry Coddington. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hello there, Mr. Mayor. We've known each other for like 20 years. I'm here to rain on your parade. I'm going to talk about the police department. Hundreds and hundreds of deputies and officers think your Tempe Police Department is a joke. They call you different names. I had one deputy tell me that you couldn't catch Tempe PD couldn't catch a cold, let alone a criminal. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I have a doctorate in public administration, and I just retired after 50 years as being a reserve deputy sheriff, which I have done a lot of things that your police department has not. I have a son who's with Phoenix PD. He hates Tempe PD with a passion. I have a son-in-law and a daughter who work for DPS. They feel the same about it. Hundreds and hundreds of officers from around Tempe do not like working with Tempe PD because they think your police department is a joke. Now, I'll tell you what we did. There was a Maricopa County sergeant and myself who arrested 2 burglars, never called you. We called a car out of Guadalupe and booked them on a county DR rather than getting your, what I would call, incompetent police department involved. So, Keystone Cops is what your police department is known as around the valley. Many agencies do not like dealing with your Tempe Police Department. My son was worked 13 years in homicide and had a deal with your detectives. There was a case, there was a shooting down on Baseline. Your detectives took it. 2 weeks later, they called Phoenix PD. this is too big for us, we can't handle it, can you take it over? So they had to go back and re-interview all the officers that shot the bad guy. And Tempe PD did not win any points. And like I said, we've arrested a burglar, 2 burglars, and didn't call Tempe PD because I think Tempe PD is incompetent. I do not trust them. I do not respect them. I spent 50 years as a police officer and did so many things that the Tempe Police Department has never done. I spent 6 years doing extradition, been to 49 of the 50 states, and made a 4-day trip to Paris, France. So
Sir, that's time, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay. Traffic.
Yeah, that's the 3 minutes. I'm sorry. That's the end of the time.
Okay. Can I just say one thing about your traffic engineering?
I can't, unfortunately. I've got to adhere to the time limit, sir.
But there's the article that says you're working on improvement. I wish the chief had stayed here because I have some ideas on how to help improve them.
Sir, that's time. Thank you.
Okay?
All right. That was the last card that I have. I just want to make a note too. I know that there are a couple of cards that I have on the Sky project, so I will call those at the point that we call that agenda item later on this evening, since we didn't want people to think I'm moving on without recognizing those comment cards. But is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council on another item? If so, please just get my attention. Okay, seeing none, I will close that portion of the meeting. And I'll move on to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the City Council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated as public hearing item at the beginning of the item title. Council members may remove any item for separate consideration or to declare a conflict of interest. If a council member would like to declare a conflict at this time, the city clerk will provide the council member with a disclosure form. If you wish to speak on a public hearing item, please fill out a speaker card and submit your completed card to the city clerk prior to the agenda item coming forward for council discussion. I will call your name when it is your turn for public comment. This evening, the consent agenda is listed as miscellaneous items 7A1 through 7A11, awards of bids and contracts items 7B1 through 7B18, and resolutions items 7C1 through 7C14. Once again, any agenda item designated as public hearing item can be removed by a member of the public for separate consideration. If anyone would like to have a public hearing item removed, please get my attention now. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close that portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Hold on. Madam Clerk, were there any comments received from the public wishing to address the City Council on a consent agenda public hearing item?
Nothing additional.
Okay, sounds good. Council, are there any additional items that you'd like to have removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration? Okay. Then seeing none, then I will look for a motion, once again, on items 7A1 through 7A11, 7B1 through 7B18, and resolutions items C7C1 through 7C14. It's been moved by Councilmember Navarro, seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote. And that item passes unanimously, 7-0. That moves us to page 21 of my agenda. Which is the non-consent agenda. All items listed on the non-consent agenda will be considered separately. Agenda items scheduled for introduction and first public hearing will be heard but will not be voted upon at this meeting. Agenda items scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be voted upon tonight. Council members who may have a conflict of interest may abstain from voting on a matter, and the city clerk will provide the council members with the disclosure form at this time. Item A1 is to ratify the administratively approved annual excess insurance renewal program for fiscal year 2023-2024. Council, any comments or discussion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hodge, seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote. And that item passes 7-0. The next item under the section is 8A2, which is to award a 2-year contract with 3 one-year renewal options to Floresco Services, LLC for the purchase and installation of streetlight poles, mast arms, and luminaries. Council, any comments or discussion? It's been moved by Vice Mayor Adams. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Please vote. And Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
And that item passes 7-0. The next item under this section is 8A3, which is to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign Amendment 1 to an intergovernmental agreement with the Arizona Board of Regents for and on behalf of Arizona State University to provide funding for Flash bus service. Council, any comments or discussion?
So move.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hodge and seconded by Councilmember Keating. Please vote. And that item passes 7-0. The next item under the section is 8A4, which is to award a professional services contract to B&F Contracting Incorporated for providing traffic signal improvements and related services. Council, any comments or discussion? Is there a motion? Moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote. That item passes 7-0. The next item, 8A5, has been removed from the agenda by staff and will be brought back at a later meeting, which brings us to the next item, which is 8A6, which is to award a construction contract to Vincon Engineering Construction LLC for minor concrete improvements, on-call maintenance, and emergency repairs. Council, any comments or discussion?
Second.
Been moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote. And that item passes 7-0. The last item under the section is 8A7, which is approve a change order allowance with Hayden Building Corporation for the Tempe Municipal Operations Center, GMP number 3. Council, any comments or discussion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Navarro and seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote. And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Keating absent. Next up is item AB, ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no votes will be taken. The second hearings and votes for items 8B1 and 8B2 are scheduled for September 7th, 2023. The second hearings and votes for items 8B3 through 8B6 are scheduled for August 10th, 2023. So the first item under the section is 8B1, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt a resolution authorizing a general plan density map amendment from high density up to 65 dwelling units per acre to high density urban core more than 65 dwelling units per acre, adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from CSS TOD, Commercial Shopping and Services District Transportation Overlay District Corridor, to MU4 TOD, Mixed Use High Density District Transportation Overlay District Corridor, a planned area development overlay to establish development standards, and a development plan review for a new 7-story mixed-use development with 189 units for the Marshall at Tempe, located at 1057 East Apache Boulevard. The applicant is Aptitude Development. Let's see, we normally, I guess it's our first hearing, so we typically would ask the applicant to give a full presentation for public transparency, as I can't say the word tonight, apparently. And I see here in front of me here, Nick Wood from Snell and Wilmer. Good to see you.
Mayor, nice to be here. Thank you. Mayor and members of the council, Nick Wood, Snell and Wilmer 1, Arizona Center, and I represent Aptitude. That was a long introduction, Mayor.
I was thinking the same thing, Mr. Wood. I was like, that's lengthier than normal. So
it's probably my fault, actually. So, as you all know, I've been involved in many of the student housing projects in this area. The council has made it clear over the years that there are certain areas in the city of Tempe where they will support student housing and other areas where they will not. One of the areas that is ground zero for student housing is what you see here on the screen. The site that we're talking about tonight is, of course, has a yellow border, and it's on Apache. To the west, you can see rural is the street that runs north-south. And, you know, right next door to us, you see that large project, that's the district. Some of you are on the council when I brought the district forward. It probably was about 8-9 years ago. That project actually has 900 beds. And it was a time when it was really one of the first student housing projects in Tempe that was private. They really didn't know how to park it. So they parked it at one space per bed. So there are 900 beds and there are 900 spaces in that parking structure. Obviously that structure isn't even close to half full They actually lease spaces to folks who live in 922, et cetera. We also did the project right across the street to the north, and that project is the Rise. You may remember that goes up to 15 stories. The Rise is now called the Carmen. It has 833 beds in it. And then, of course, to the east of that, on the screen, it looks like it's under construction, but it's now completed. We did the Apollo project. That is a big student housing project that has 946 beds to it. As you may recall, we actually had to buy a piece of property from the city at the corner at Terrace to do that. And then around the corner, we also did the Canvas, which is 837 beds. So when Aptitude came to me, and Noel is with me here tonight, on this project, you can see it's a much smaller site. The district, of course, is extremely huge. It goes from Apache on the north down to Spence on the south. But this one is the smallest, and it'll be the smallest student housing project in the city. But it'll be one of the nicest, I think. For example, it'll be the only student housing project with underground parking, which is very, very unique. To the east of us are apartments, and to the south of us are townhomes. And those townhomes were built fairly recently. When we first discussed this project with staff, we were thinking a taller building, like somewhere in the 10 to 15 story range. Staff brought something to our attention, which I think was appropriate, and that is we do have ownership units right behind us. And because of that, we really should bring the height down to about the same height as what the district is, and that's about 90, 92 feet. And we agreed with staff. We thought it was the right thing to do. So here's a little bit closer shot of it. As you can see, it's the existing hotel. It's actually the Sleep In Suites hotel, and then you can see a little bit of the townhomes behind us. This is the Sleep In Suites, the existing condition today, and you can see the district that's beyond it. You know, one of the things we did with the district so long ago is it has balconies. Well, you don't do balconies in student housing anymore. And of course, ours does not have any balconies, although that one does. The site, you know, is currently zoned CSS. We're asking for an MU4, which is the same as all of the other student housing projects that we've done. The general plan shows a mixed-use component. Because it's such a small site, we're asking to change the general plan to increase the density per acre. Again, it's just because of the size and dimensions of the site that is driving that request. The site plan is very cool, actually. It has two ways in and out of the parking structure. You come in on the west, and then there's plenty of area interior for pickup, drop-off, Uber, deliveries, you name it. So nothing has to happen on the street. Then they can exit on the eastern side of it. You can see where we have a restaurant. We'll have some outdoor dining. But one of the things you see here is the lobby and the entry. As we've done with prior student housing projects, we did two things that are critically important. Number one, we went to visit with Dr. Rund, the Dean of Students with ASU. We introduced our management team to Dr. Rund. It's critically important for successful private student housing projects to have that communication and have that connection with the university, both before they build it and after they build it and they're operating. The other thing that we did is we entered into a security plan with the Tempe Police Department. As you recall, when I was doing the Rise, it was a time of great upheaval in the private student housing world, right? A young co-ed fell to her death across the street at 922, and at the district, some knucklehead fraternity kids were beating up on each other, and it was problems, and it was significant. So I took your initial security plan that you use for bars and restaurants, because you require that. So I took that, we adjusted it, modified it, and created a security plan with Tempe Police Department, right, to set forth some operating standards and conditions. So for example, when anyone comes in, either residents or visitors, they have to check in at the front desk. They don't have access. There's no other access around the building where anybody can sneak in, for example. We have security guards on site. We have management living on site. We'll have cameras, video, everything all the way around it. And one of the reasons is, and having this discussion with Dr. Rund several years ago, and that is, number one, the safety of the students is paramount. But more importantly, if the students don't feel safe, or if they're in a living situation where they're unhappy, they may not just change their place of residence, they may change schools. So the idea is to set all of this up, right, first and foremost for the safety of the students, but also, right, for the community. And that's how this works so very well. Our landscape plan, again, working with staff, working with your water department. You know, you can see at the bottom of the slide, there's a large green space. Well, there's basically water lines and other things that run through there. So we worked on moving the building back, creating some landscaping back there, creating the landscaping up along the front and on the sides. And of course, the parking structure is 2 levels, one down and one at grade. But you can see the gray on either side, those are units that basically cover the parking structure so no one will see it from the outside. Our development standards table, basically it's 189 units, which is much smaller than the others. A mixture of studios, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s are we got 15 of those and 59 of the 4s, which again is typical of student housing with the larger, you know, number of beds per unit. So 189 units, 479 beds, 92 feet of height, which is 7 stories, just like the district. Landscape area, 29 feet. Vehicle parking, 168 spaces, and 316 spaces for bicycles. And that's parking at a 0.31 ratio. Material boards, again, Aptitude does a great job with respect to the quality of their product. As you can see from the material board, we're not talking about a whole bunch of stucco. We're talking about, you know, Summit brick. We're talking about precast cement things. I mean, it's just great colors, great materials, etc. And here's the architecture, right? I have not seen architecture this cool in a student housing project, I don't think ever. You can see the different colors, the different articulation, the pop-outs, the materials, you know, even the roof, right, has significant modulation and changes. The grade level, the pedestrian realm, right? I call it the 20 by 20. When you stand on a sidewalk and you're next to a building that's more than a story or 2, right, your experience level is 20 feet deep and 20 feet high. And as you can see here, they take a great approach to creating something that's very comfortable. Lots of shade, lots of stone, lots of windows. You can see where the entrance is on the west side of the building. Nice landscaping. It's just a beautiful set of architecture. Here's another shot from a different angle. Again, you can see the district in the far end on the right, but you can see where the exit is right here. Again, we have retail, and you can see where that entry is, but it's just a really beautiful building, beautiful architecture. My hat's off to that, the architect on the design. In the back, because we have those townhomes, talking with staff, we thought that even though the views from the units really are east-west, still people along Spence will still be able to see this building. So the idea was that we create really unique architecture there as well. So we have the pop-outs, again, the articulation, so it's 4-sided architecture that's really pretty cool. And then you can see where the setback is in the back from our building to the wall, and of course, all the landscaping and things that we have in the back. Here's another shot of that, you know, and this would be a view again from the townhomes parking lot. One of the things that staff asked us to do was to park this at a 0.5 spaces per bed. And I understand why staff is asking that. That's kind of been the norm. We did the 1-for-1 with the district, and then we went to 0.5 and 0.5. I understand, you know, adhering to percentages because, of course, the percentages is what sets forth precedent for the next case. But here, because we're so small, I wanted to give you kind of a comparison, right? So on the top, you see the Marshall at Tempe, the second column, we have 189 units. We have 479 beds. And when you look down the line, right, for the Carmen, right, the Carmen has 833 beds. You go down to the cul-de-sac, which we did not do, but you basically approved that with no parking. That has 786 beds. The Apollo we did is 946 beds. University House is 879. Canvas is 837. Park Place is 783. So we're about half the size of most of the other student housing projects. But then when you look at the amount of units that won't have a parking space, that's in the far right-hand column. So the number of beds without a parking space, if you approve this in our project at 0.31, is 326. You go across the street to Carmen, they have 430 units that don't have parking. It still works for them. Same thing with the cul-de-sac, right? 740 spaces don't have, beds don't have parking. The Apollo, 473 beds don't have parking. University House, 640, Canvas, 364. So basically, we don't have as many beds without parking as the others. In fact, we have significantly less. And still, it all works. In speaking to my client, Gil Bain, who built the Apollo, we have another project that we're going to be coming to you with fairly soon. And I asked him, I said, what do you do? I mean, how you manage the question of cars, right, with your tenants? And he says, it's real simple. We only have X number of spaces. And if someone wants to rent a space, if one's available, they can rent it. If not, they're told they can't bring a car. And we've never had a problem. He said, because so many of our kids don't have cars anyway. I mean, I've got 5 kids, 4 went through college, right? None of them had cars. And that was for a reason. I don't want my kids in college driving a car. And I've got another one that's about to go in a year, and she's not getting a car either. So the bottom line is, I understand the ratio, and you know I have the highest regard for staff. And this is just basically an agreement to disagree on the ratios because, again, rather than talking about percentages, we're just talking about actual numbers. So we're not going to have that many beds. And again, no one else has had any problem with it. So, and the other problem we have is when you take a look at our building and our site plan, you know, we lowered the building, right? And of course, that compresses everything. If we were taller, we could provide more parking spaces because there's simply more room. And we actually had to go underground with the parking. Now, I think most of you know that underground parking structures alone are expensive. When you go underground, it increases that cost significantly. That's why very few, in fact, no other student housing has underground parking. So with that, we would respectfully request when we come back, approval. The only thing we would ask is that we modify that stipulation for staff and that you are comfortable with the 0.31 ratio under these specific circumstances with this specific site, and it's not deemed to be some kind of a precedent going forward. But again, every project has to stand on its own merits. And this one, because of the circumstances, I think the 0.31 is appropriate. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. Let me do a really quick thing before we go to council questions. Since this is a public hearing item, I want to see if there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the city council on item 8B1. Speakers have up to 3 minutes. If there's anyone, please get my attention. All right, seeing that, I'll close the public hearing portion. Council, Mr. Wood is still up here. Are there any questions? Vice Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate that you took the time to look at the adjoining property and lowered the height so it wouldn't adversely affect them. So thank you for doing that. We really try to work with our neighborhoods and be good partners, I know, with our neighborhoods. This area is probably the best transportation area in the entire valley. We've got light rail, streetcar, buses, Orbit, scooters, bicyclists, you name it, you can ride around to school very, very easily, and you can also walk. And I'm very happy to see that you're proposing less parking places. I mean, cul-de-sac, another development with no parking spaces is already sold out. So a lot of people are getting out of their cars. They're not interested in driving cars anymore. And it's a lot less expensive. You don't have to pay insurance. You're not put in so much danger. And I will be supporting less parking with the 0.31 as a result of this. And obviously the buildings around that aren't needing the parking anyway. So things have evolved, and a lot of the younger adults are not driving at all. Many of them don't want to drive ever. So I just think we can. I'm very supportive of that. Also, we have Uber. Lyft. Kind of, you don't even have to drive anymore if you don't want to, because you have so many options. And the city of Tempe has the best transportation in this valley. So I think we need to recognize that and take advantage of it and move forward with less parking. Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else on council? Any comments or questions on this item? I don't have any either. Thank you, Mr. Wood. So just once again, just want to reiterate for the public here, the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for September 7th, 2023. The next item under the section is 8B2, which is to introduce and hold a first public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a planned area development overlay to modify building height and a development plan review for a new 27-story mixed-use development with 281 units for Sky Tempe, located at 780 South Myrtle Avenue. The applicant is Snell and Wilmer, LLP. And I see Mr. Wood, you are back again.
Mayor, members of council, a long time no see. Mayor, members of council, Nick Wood, Snell and Wilmer, 1 Arizona Center, and I represent the Hubbard Group. With your permission, Mayor, my client, Cage Brown, would like to, make some preliminary statements before I make my presentation. I want to share with you before he speaks one thing, though. We did a high-rise project for them in downtown Phoenix. It's already been constructed. They're doing the interior work right now, and they'll be leasing it out fairly soon. And they've done work all over the country. It was interesting because we had lunch. This goes back over a year ago in Tempe. And what he observed, what Cage and his partner John McClendon observed was there's a lot of student housing in downtown Tempe, but there's no apartment to serve the young professional, right? The lawyers, the doctors, people who are highly compensated. And this is what they do. This is really their product. So that's one of the reasons they were looking for a site and then finally found one. So with that, Mayor, with your permission, I'll turn it over to Cage.
Sounds good. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So for the record, this is Cage Brown. I'm a partner with Hubbard Street Group. We're the developer of Sky Tempe. Council members, Vice Mayor, Mayor, thank you for your time tonight. I would be at this hearing in person, but unfortunately I have an out-of-town family wedding. Tonight, we're excited to present our 281-unit Sky Tempe project. This is a culmination of over 18 months of hard work in collaboration with the city of Tempe. Our firm, Hubbard Street Group, searched for sites within Tempe for multiple years before finally finding the perfect opportunity in January 2022 at the northwest corner of Myrtle and University. The city of Tempe masterfully crafted the Tempe General Plan 2040, which guided our development plan from the very beginning 18 months ago. For the subject site, the general plan calls for a mixed-use, high-density urban core development at 300 feet tall, all qualities our Sky Tempe development embodies. Since 2014, the city of Tempe has added over 8 million square feet of office space. However, market rate housing options for young professionals remain limited, as Nick noted. We wanted to change this with Sky Tempe. Given the proximity to ASU, student housing developments are abundant across town. However, Sky Tempe will offer a first-of-its-kind housing product in downtown. 281 luxury apartments targeted for young professionals through empty nesters rather than students. It should be noted that our company, Hubbard Street Group, formerly Centrum Partners, have developed over 5,000 units over 35 plus years and have never once built a student housing project. It is a completely different development plan and operations that frankly we can't execute as it's not our expertise. To further prove our commitment, we will restrict and not allow any of our 2-bedroom units in the 1 3-bedroom unit to be rented by the bed, which is a standard practice for student housing. Sky Tempe will be one of the first LEED certified apartment buildings in downtown. As you'll see in the presentation, the architects did an incredible job creating a building that not only anchors the prominent Myrtle and University corner with a very distinctive design, but also provides for an enhanced pedestrian experience at the ground level, which includes a little over 6,600 square feet of retail or restaurant space. It should also be noted that as part of our development, we will be donating to the Affordable Housing Fund in the amount of 20% of our permit fees, but a minimum of $200,000 in an effort to support Mayor Wood's Hometown for All affordable housing initiative. Overall, our development team met with ASU on multiple occasions, presented to the broader community, and conducted dozens of meetings with city staff. Over the last 18 months, we seamlessly integrated feedback and improved the overall aesthetic and development plan while adhering to the Tempe General Plan 2040. Before passing over the presentation to Nick, we also want to thank Diana, Ryan, and the entire city staff of Tempe for their hard work and collaboration. The final product is something we all should be proud of. We cannot be more excited to take the final steps and break ground next year. Nick, please take it from here.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wood.
Mayor, members of the council. Some of you have known me a long, long time, maybe longer than you'd like. But you know that I'm a pretty principled guy, and integrity to me is paramount no matter what. And I expect that of my clients just as I expect it of myself. When they came to me with this project, right, the first thing I brought up, one of the first things I brought up was Jeeplets, right? I mean, every high-rise in downtown Tempe has a Jeeplet. And, you know, I walked them through, you know, the Jeeplets here in town. And both John and Cage looked at me and they said, "We don't need one." And I said, "What do you mean you don't need one?" They said, "Well, because it's a luxury apartment rental, our rents will be high enough that we don't need any assistance to help stabilize our rents during the first years of when we open it." And I said, "But you understand you're getting 8 years worth of total abatement of your taxes with a Jeeplet, and the city council, you know, will routinely, again, for a great project, at least consider giving one." And he said, "Yeah, but we don't need one." Well, that's, of course, music to my ears for several reasons. Number one, it shows that level of integrity. Number two, it's great for the school districts. You know, in downtown Phoenix, right, there are 23 Jeeplets. I've done 19 of them. And in each case, I understand the implications for the school districts. But again, they're a great tool when it comes to assisting and building where it needs to be done. The City Council of Phoenix, right, is also taking a hard look at this, and they've decided, just like John has, right, that when you're doing a luxury apartment project that's a high-rise, rents are now high enough, right, that you really don't need the Jeeplet. So again, it tells me a lot about the client. And then when they say that, look, we understand that there's been many representations by many zoning lawyers and many developers that, you know, their high-rise building is not going to be student housing. And rather than asking you to believe them this time, right, since so many others have not been necessarily forthright, and I'm not trying to be critical, it's just things happen. They've agreed to restrict, right, their two-bedroom units, and they have mostly, you know, studios 1s, 2s, and then 1, 3, which of course is contrary to student housing to begin with. But they'll agree to a restriction, right, to limit the 2 bedrooms and the 3 from being rented by the room. Now, obviously, if it's a studio and it's a 1, you're renting by the room because you're renting the unit and only has 1 room. But again, that tells me a great deal about the integrity of this client. The site is at the northwest corner of the intersection of Myrtle and University. It's Main Street on Main, right? This is the area of high-rise development. And it's always important, of course, to get a quality developer coming forward with a project, and you've already learned a lot about my client without even meeting them. We have, let me go to the next slide. So when you look around us, right, we're surrounded by high-rises. To the south, we have Mirabella. To the east, we have the Canopy. Northeast, Union Tempe, Olive to the north of us, the Weston also to the north of us. And then right next door to us, right, the East University, that's going to have 453 units, which, you know, I don't know if it's going to be student housing or not, but I've certainly heard rumors. So this is the place to put high rises. And it's not just the fact that my client wants to build a high rise. And by the way, that Jack in the Box that's over there, I don't know if you remember, but there's a building that's on 44th Street in Camelback in Phoenix. It was called the London Center. And they built right around the Jack in the Box. It was actually built into the building. So, you know, considering the high rises that are around here, that may happen at that location. So here's the existing condition. Obviously, it's the Salvation Army building. We've gotten comments back from HP. HP does not believe that this building has any historic relevance. In speaking with Councilwoman Garland, she asked if we might be willing to, before it's demolished, talk again to HP and maybe to the museum to see if there's anything within the building, in the inside or outside, that should go into the museum, and of course we will certainly do that. You talk about policy. I know that there's a movement afoot to ask the council to change your policy regarding high-rise development in downtown Tempe and elsewhere in the city. And that's your legislative prerogative, right? You have the ability on a going forward basis to change policy whenever you as a council deem it appropriate. On the other hand, right, once you've established that policy, once the general plan has been voted on by the voters, developers and neighbors have a right to rely upon that. So in looking, before we even move forward with this, before my client even purchased the site, we took a hard look at what, you know, is the city's policy, and it's shown right here in these slides. So for example, you know, this is the city center, TOD. As I mentioned, this is Main Street on Main, and we're right there in it. You look at the general plan mixed use, right? We're mixed use. We have 6,650 square feet of retail, which by the way is very cool because that's going to be a really high-end, you know, type of restaurant that's going to go there other than some of the typical ones that you'll find. Density, right? We're in the high-density urban core. The urban core, more than 65 dwelling units per acre. We're there. And then the last one is you look at the downtown Mill Avenue District Community Design Principles. Again, policy. This policy on our site shows up to 300 feet maximum height. So with all of that, right, my client decided to go forward in reliance, of course, upon the policy, and it makes sense. The site plan has gone through a lot of iterations. Again, as you know, I work in many municipalities in the Valley, and it's always such a pleasure to work with your staff. We had some design challenges when we started, and staff was very helpful in helping us resolve those. For example, if you look at the top of the larger screen, it says garage access. You can see where the two little red diamonds or triangles are. That's our entrance into and out of our garage. It's the only entrance into and out of our garage, and of course it's secured. It has doors that come and down, and you have to have a clicker, right, to actually open them. And then we have, right next to it, we have a loading area. The idea is to take everything out of the alley so there can be no off-site anything, right? Everything is all done on site. So the loading and unloading, if someone's moving in, the truck pulls into the loading area because it's huge. They unload, they bring it up, the truck leaves, nothing in the alley, nothing out on Myrtle, nothing on University. That kind of stuff drives everybody nuts. Same thing with garbage pickup, right? Everything is done on site. But when we first had our design, the APS yard that you see in the upper right-hand corner, right, that's basically perpendicular to the ground, was turned 90 degrees, and it cut across the back along the alleyway. That caused a problem with our refuse pickup, because unfortunately, the truck would have to cross in front of our garage access. And how do we have our tenants not be able to get in and out, even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes? So we rearranged everything. We moved the APS. We got approval from APS to do that. Same thing with gas. We moved it over to the right, which of course created another opportunity. That opportunity is to create a really nice open space, a setback area that's very cool. It's going to have a mural on it, and I'll show you that, you know, in a minute. One of the things that jumps out at you when you look at this is the size of the public right-of-way, where the sidewalk is and where the detached sidewalk is. As you can see on the right hand along Myrtle, we have significant landscaping. It's very deep. as well as trees and other things. We also have the entrance into the lobby. Again, this is very high luxury. So we have entrance into the lobby. You have the leasing that's right off the lobby. Mailroom is right behind there. And then, of course, you see the FCC is the Fire Control Center. But you see the size of the commercial. And in talking to staff said, you know what, why don't you kind of create a sense of arrival? And also, let's make sure that we have a good sight triangle at the corner. So we went ahead and we cut back on the building. And again, I'll show you that in a minute. So it has that really unique luxury style building look to it. And again, we've got great landscaping things along University as well. But this is a very cool building. Our development standards, we have 51 studios. We have 171 bedrooms. Again, that's that young professional, young lawyers. One of the things we need to do is ASU is such a tremendous institution, right? I teach at the law school. A couple of my kids went here, and too many times, right, they graduate and they leave the city, right? They don't stay here. Well, we want them to stay here. As you know, I lived here for years. So the idea is, to create a place for them to be. Well, you've got, again, 171 bedrooms, 59 two-bedrooms, and again, we'll restrict those to no rental by the bed, and 1 3-bedroom. I have no idea how the 3-bedroom came to be. I think it was just some extra space they had, but so it's a total of 281 units, and the retail restaurant space is 6,650 square feet, and of course we have 300 foot building height. In looking at the parking, under your code, we're required to have 175 stalls. We're providing 271 stalls, almost 100 additional stalls. Now, as I said in the previous presentation, parking is damn expensive to build, right? You're talking $40,000 or $50,000 a space. So why would you build more than you have to? Well, again, the reason is when you're talking about young doctors, lawyers, professionals, right, highly compensated people, they want parking spaces. And sometimes they'll have 2. You have a couple, right? And they'll have 2 cars. And the other thing is you're going to have guests, right? If they're going to invite a guest, they're going to invite them in. So the bottom line is we're building more parking as part of the idea that, again, this is a very luxury high-end. This will be the highest luxury high-end product in downtown Tempe by a huge margin. Landscape plan. Again, you can see at the bottom along University, those are all pavers. We're paving the sidewalk to make it look really cool. You can see where we have that cut-in. And then, of course, you can see the level of trees and landscaping along Myrtle. And then, of course, the entry into the lobby for the apartments is, again, very, very high-end. The architecture is, again, very unique and, again, shows money spent. When you look at the one on the left, right, you can see where the entry is into the retail. But none of the architecture on any side of the building is the same. This is not some big box or some big rectangle. Basically, you look at the finishes, you look at the top, on the rooftop, you have your clubhouse, right? You have everything. You have your pool up there, et cetera. So it's all on top, but again, is very high end. You see the articulation in the building, the surfaces, the insets, right? Even the balconies are inset. And then at the bottom right-hand corner of the right-hand slide, you can see where the mural is going to be. It's going to look kind of like, something out of the Grand Canyon. But again, it's set back. It creates some space and it creates some elements. And you can see the level of the landscaping and the quality. This is just a very, very, very high-quality building. Then you look at it from looking south along University. That is the coolest wall I've ever seen in an apartment building. Very unique, very special. And again, no side is the same as the others. Of course, Wells Fargo is going to end up going away, and that's that other high-rise that's going to be built next door to us. But as you can see, the quality and the consideration and the care and the elegance of this design. And again, the idea is to attract that highly compensated person, keep our young professionals here, a place where, you know, my wife and I might want to live. This is the ground level. Remember I told you that 20 by 20, right? How does it feel standing next to a building? Does it feel like the building's leaning on you, right? Or does it feel like a sense of place or a sense of arrival? Well, here you see on the left-hand side, the Myrtle Market. You can see where we're going to do the pavers and things on the sidewalk. You can see that indentation that we made, again, to create something special. That's not cheap to do. But what this is all about, shade. I mean, we know better than ever now over this past month how important shade is. So we have a combination of trees and awnings to create shade on both sides of the building. And then on that, again, that bottom left hand, you can see the landscaping on both, but especially on that right-hand slide. That's the entry into the lobby for the apartments. That ain't cheap. That's very cool and very well designed. Again, it's a sense of arrival. When people who live there and they're walking, it feels nice to walk in there. And look at the landscaping and the depth of the landscaping from the sidewalk down to the curb. You can see on the right, you know, where we have that really cool kind of a separation, and then we have that mural that's going to be beyond it. The only thing that we would ask is, again, with respect to the commercial element, staff has asked us if we could provide 3 commercial spaces for customers in our parking structure. As I mentioned, and as I shared with you, our site plan, let's just walk by it. Okay, so as you can see where those 2 red triangles are, essentially those are doors that shut, they're secure. There's no access for the public. We can't provide the public access and still provide security, right, for people who in that income level and that demographic requires security. But what we are proposing is that we do give access for at least 3 spaces for the employees of the commercial. So although we're not, you know, having, you know, anybody who's necessarily a customer have access to the garage, we can certainly have employees have access to the garage. And that's it. This is one of those that I'm really proud of my client, and I'm really proud of the project. I'm proud of their design, and I'm glad to be bringing something to downtown Tempe of this quality because it just doesn't otherwise exist. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation. Let me first go to the public hearing portion of the agenda before I go to council questions. I've got a few cards here. The first card I have this evening is from Mel Kessler. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Mel Kessler. I'm a 50-year-plus resident of Tempe. I am here along with a lot of other Mirabella residents who are concerned about this project. I've been involved in making Tempe a great place to live through my work on community boards, neighborhood associations, and community improvement projects for many years. I now live at Mirabella on the 8th floor across the street from what will be the Sky development if it's approved. The project, along with other planned high-rise developments, I believe are detrimental to the work I've participated in to make Tempe a great place to live. I'm very concerned about the density of this project. With the high number of residential units and the vehicles that will come with them, traffic congestion will be exacerbated in the area, including both Myrtle Avenue and the alley to the north. Sky representatives say all pedestrian traffic is on sidewalks on Myrtle and University. Well, they have not been as observant as I have since I observed from the 8th floor unit many pedestrians, including homeless people, using the alley to the north to gain access to Mill Avenue. They frequently must navigate around delivery trucks and vehicle traffic in the alley. How will Sky ensure that no deliveries are made from the congested alley? Will they have a staff person keeping a constant vigil of what's happening behind the building? With the Sky parking garage access from the alley, individuals will be placing themselves at risk with the increased traffic in the alley. Vehicles exiting the complex will most likely exit the alley to Myrtle Avenue going south or north. Given the increased pedestrian traffic on Myrtle at University and 7th Street intersections, added vehicular traffic will increase the risk of pedestrian and vehicle interactions. Trash collection from the Olive currently occurs in the alley at very early morning hours with the noise of garbage trucks heard throughout the neighborhood. I firmly believe that Sky will just be adding to this situation. Visitors to the building will have virtually no street-level parking available to them, as one current space on Myrtle is almost always taken by people going into the Olive, Canopy, or adjoining businesses. This is not an acceptable situation, and it needs to be remediated. You should accept the recommendation of the Development Review Commission. I urge you not to approve this plan in its current configuration, both as to building height, density, and vehicle accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next speaker I have is John Vallata. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is John Vallata. I'm a resident of Tempe, and I'm here to speak on the Sky project. This site is too small for the density and the scale of the Sky design. Design revision is essential prior to approval. A vibrant, attractive future Tempe requires pleasing cityscapes, interesting architecture, and ease of access. The proposed project detracts from these goals and does not comply with the Tempe vision. Future quality of life values may be reduced, and city flight may be encouraged. Both are contradictory to the long-range plan. Myrtle traffic disruptions, including tour buses, parking, and garage pickup, will be exacerbated. Existing University Drive traffic congestion will be significantly increased if the 6 proposed residence projects, including Sky, are all completed. Traffic circulation needs to be improved with the city action, such as eliminating on-street parking or one-way traffic. Well-designed turnouts in the project design should be considered. The developer proposed restaurant and luxury commercial on the street level will not be a viable business without improved access and parking. Reliance on the alley will exacerbate existing problems. The alley is used for all of student move-ins and move-outs. Tour buses use the alley. Large provisioners trucks stop on the alley. Garbage trucks block the alley for pickup from other buildings. Pedestrian, bicycle, and scooter safety will be aggravated with the 2 corners of the large buildings adjacent to the sidewalk on Myrtle. The design lacks consideration for efficient ride-sharing pickup, delivery, multi-mode transportation, and the pedestrian experience. The assumptions of the residents' council, the assumptions of residents' reliance on transit, bicycles, and walking is not valid. The developer target population is professionals, as we heard. Unfortunately, cars will be needed by the majority of residents for occupation-related transportation. Phoenix is the 4th fastest warming city in the United States. If transportation is inefficient and congested, residents in Tempe will not be attractive. Lack of consideration for the future vision gestalt does not justify continuing past failures in the design approval process. The time for design changes to comply with the Tempe's future vision is now. When the developer is finished with the project, Tempe will be left to deal with any of the adverse consequences of Sky. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The next speaker I have is Sandra Vallata. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and city staff. My name is Sandy Vallata, and I am here to provide comments concerning the Sky Tempe high-rise project. I attended the telephonic neighborhood meeting conducted by the developer's legal counsel on March 22nd, 2023. At that meeting, I heard my neighbors voice numerous concerns about the project as currently proposed. I share those concerns and those expressed by the dissenting members of the Tempe Planning and Development Review Commission. A developer has certain entitlements. However, just because you can does not mean that you should. All proposed projects must be evaluated in context with adjoining uses, either existing or proposed. The city must rightly be concerned with the quality of the downtown Tempe living experience, especially as proposed development impacts the lives of citizens and businesses that have already made the commitment to downtown Tempe. Simply put, Sky Tempe as currently proposed is too much for a parcel that is slightly less than 1/2 acre. Lot coverage is proposed at 99%. Building setbacks are non-existent. The density of the number of apartments is too great. The way to reduce apartment numbers is to reduce building height. Numbers of units will translate into increased traffic congestion. The surface streets that will be used by the project's residents are inadequate at this time to bear the traffic load. I am particularly troubled by the potential of increased emergency response time because of traffic congestion. I live in a building where, because of age and physical condition, many of my neighbors are a vulnerable population. EMS and ambulance response time is important to us. The alley to the north of Sky Tempe is narrow. The developer is expecting far too much from such a humble little alley. Vehicular circulation and the inadequacy of certain streets to carry more traffic must be addressed. Again, reduce the density to alleviate the problems. Proposed building setbacks may not be adequate to provide a pleasant pedestrian experience. Streetscape landscaping is sparse. Heat mitigation, especially using appropriate plant materials at the pedestrian street level, may not be adequate. Simply put, the developer is asking for far too much on far too little property. Please remember, just because you can does not mean that you should. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and member of council.
Thank you so much. The next speaker I have is Robert Miller. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Mayor Woods, members of the council, thank you very much. Most everything that I would say has already been said by these people before me. However, I'm still going to take my 3 minutes, so whatever. Anyway, I'm a longtime resident of Tempe and also a member of the Development Review Commission. However, I am not here.
Excuse me, I don't make it a practice to interrupt your meeting, but Mr. Miller, I do need to ask you.
Can I finish, please?
No, maybe you can't. That's the
Well, I'm
reason
just
why I
going
need
to
to
say
ask
I'm
you
not
a
speaking on
question.
behalf of them. I'm speaking on behalf of myself.
That's fine. That was my question. Thank you, sir.
That's what I'm going to say. Anyway, I understand that this project, staff has suggested additional conditions of approval based on the feedback and comments that they received. I don't feel that these conditions adequately address the concerns that I have. The project is simply too large for the site. The site is less than 1/2 acre. The lot coverage is 99%. There are 0 setbacks. This doesn't fit. That's simply all there is to it. The height and density of the project will detract from the walkability of the area, will negatively impact views of the streetscape, and further reduce open space and view corridors, all of which negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood and area's quality of life. There's also no open space included in this development. None. You've got 99% lot coverage, so where's your open space? It doesn't exist. Also, the project does nothing to add affordable housing to the downtown area. It's market rate housing. It's not affordable. Unlike the Marshall, this project includes only one small space for deliveries, loading and unloading of persons, furniture, commercial supplies, which will have a negative effect on the traffic flow in the surrounding area. Although staff has included a condition of approval to address this, that does not address concerns regarding rideshare services or other intermittent disruptions that can and will occur. Those things will happen. Significant issues have been raised regarding staging and collection of solid waste. And again, this has not been addressed. This was on the record from the beginning. Finally, if you're so inclined to approve the project, I would ask you to include a condition of approval that requires parking be placed underground, and that, in addition, includes a two-way access ramp to that underground garage. Also, reduce the number of required parking spaces to 0.5 per dwelling unit if this area is filled with multimodal transportation. And finally, ask the developer to include an agreement for use of additional parking in already existing garages. You don't need to park it the way it is. I'm not opposed to high-density projects per se, but this one doesn't fit with what you have. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. The next speaker I have is Phil Yates, and I believe he's virtual. Mr. Yates, can you hear me? Mr. Yates, can you hear me? Is your microphone on? Oh, Mr. Yates, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yes, perfect. I can hear you now. You please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Certainly. My name is Phil Yates, and I am the president for the Riverside Neighborhood Association. Let it be known that the DRC voted against this project 4-3. Almost all of the speakers that were at that meeting were against the Skyway 281 extreme luxury apartment at Myrtle and University. This is a 0.67 acre lot. 0.6 acres is far too small for a 27-story, 281 extremely luxury apartment tower with 0 setbacks. It would create a huge traffic problem for this area. Myrtle Street and its alleyway aren't good enough to access this development. The development isn't willing to excavate the area for Native American ruins. The developer hasn't offered anything to the Salvation Army. I hope that everybody remembers when we voted against the coyotes and the whole area, we need to point out that the DRC and the city council and the mayor were totally for all of that, the entertainment district. And then it was brought to the voters, and the voters all said they didn't want it. We don't want it. We don't need this kind of a development in this area. This whole area has become a skywide, just insanely high, dense area. It doesn't need to be that way. It never has needed to be that way. We just don't want it. I hope you're listening to all of the people that have spoken this evening and spoke at the DRC meeting, because it's obvious to me and to everybody that went to the DRC meeting and people that talked to me, friends and family, that this is just kind of scary. There are zero setbacks. It's just terrible. It's way too high. There's no step down from the northern side. It is not an attractive building at all. It just does not fit the area, and there's like no way to get into or out of that building. There's just nothing good about this kind of a high rise.
Mr. Yates, that's time, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. Before I close the public hearing, just want to make sure, is there anyone else in the audience who's wishing to address us on item 8B2 this evening? If so, please get my attention. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I'll bring Mr. Wood back up. Are there any council members who have any comments or questions? Vice Mayor?
No.
Vice Mayor Adams.
Mayor, members of the council, one point of clarification, there was only one speaker at DRC and that person was in favor. Just to clarify that. With respect to all the things that I heard, again, I want to go back and just comment on, again, city center TOD. This is intended to be tall and dense. Mixed use, which it is. High density, 64 dwelling units per acre, it is. Up to 300 feet of height, it is. We are surrounded by high-rise buildings. You heard speakers from Mirabella, right across the street, there's a high-rise building. We have the Canopy, the Union, the Olive, the Weston, right? You heard comments regarding the pickup and drop-off. As you can see here, there is lots of space now along the alley so that nothing occurs in the alley. Pick up, drop off of furniture, garbage, you name it, it's all interior to the site. Now, when you go out to the alley, you can see all of our neighboring buildings that have dumpsters out there, they have all kinds of things out there. Of course, this won't. As far as the architecture, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Again, we have lots of public right-of-way in order to put in all of this landscaping, all of these pavers to create this high-end product. It is exactly where it's supposed to be. It's exactly the size and height and density that it's supposed to be. And that's been the policy, right? Now, again, what you heard is from people who are thinking about the future policy. And as you, as a council, look forward to changing, right, or addressing the general plan, you know, again, it's your legislative prerogative. If you feel it's appropriate to lower building heights, lower densities, whatever, then that's exactly what you should do, again, as a council. But for anyone to say that somehow this doesn't follow the rules or the guidelines, we exactly follow the rules and the guidelines. And this project is, like I said, the exact size, location. Now, a couple of other things. As you know, is making a $200,000 contribution. Now, typically, the only people who make contributions to with high-rise buildings is those who are doing G-splits, right? That's part of the quid pro quo. Again, it goes to my client's integrity. They still, right, are making a contribution of at least $200,000. They're building a Leeds building. They're putting in, to start, 13 charging stations, but they can expand to 75 if that is in fact what's needed. I do want to mention one thing, and that is compact parking spaces. Your code does not give us any idea of what size of compact parking spaces can be. Obviously, we can't use I'm sorry, I can't talk all of a sudden. We can't use compact spaces to achieve the minimum of 175 spaces. Those are conventional size. But with the extra almost 100, we will have some compact spaces, about 26 of those. 20 of those are regular spaces, and then we've got 6 tandem spaces. But the size of those are 7.5 by 16. Your regular size space is 8.5 by 18. So for the compact spaces, we will have those. And again, there's nothing in your code that defines what those are, et cetera. But I just wanted to share with you that we will have those 26 spaces in the 100 additional spaces that we're going to have. As far as traffic, I mean, this is a downtown urban core. Of course you're going to have traffic. There are only really 2 downtown urban cores in the valley, right? Downtown Phoenix and downtown Tempe. That's it. So when you have high-rise, you're going to have, but it brings with it the excitement as well, the energy as well, trying to keep, right, this demographic of people in Tempe as well. So when you look at all the high-rises and you hear some people who live in high-rises complaining about other high-rises, this is exactly where it's supposed to be. This is your Main Street on Main. So again, with all due respect, and by the way, someone said we had an issue with garbage pickup, and as I said, that's all been resolved. But the bottom line is, with the exception of the stipulation regarding the 3 commercial spaces, we will provide those for our employees. We hope that when we come back, you will support this case. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let me go to Vice Mayor Adams and Councilmember Chin.
So I have a few comments and maybe some questions, Nick, so I might have to come back up, but you're okay for now. So you are not asking for a giblet, which is great for our schools and our tax rolls. I think that's a really important point to make, and you're right, all other buildings of this size in this area have received giblets. So I really appreciate the company. I'm not asking for that. And I also appreciate that you're going to give at least $200,000 to our Hometown for All program, which it helps get people into affordable housing, get people off the street, helps the homeless. So thank you for doing that. This is a perfect plan for high density housing. I mean, we need to have high density housing for our young professionals. This downtown, we've been working on refreshing it, and we need to get people down here. In order to get more businesses, we have to have more bodies down here, and this is going to be an affluent area, and that's appropriate for this area of town, and just like Marabella is. And I'm super excited to be able to have more businesses come in and refresh our downtown. That will be immense. And Councilmember Navarro and I are particularly interested in refreshing downtown. So thank you for that. And we need to activate our downtown, and so we have more energy and more businesses. This population will have extra spending money, and businesses will thrive. And that's an important point. They're going to have large incomes and lots of spending money. So they'll be able to spend in Tempe. And let's confine them to only Tempe so they can stay and support our businesses. We have been working on our downtown improvements, and this falls into our categories of improving our downtown. It also, the high density zone, it is in a high density zone that was approved by our voters in the general plan, and that's what we have. So it's appropriate. Can you tell me about parking places for visitors, Nick?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, because we have a design, and I'll go back to it again. Oops, gone the wrong way. So as you can see, the entry and exit is right there in the upper left-hand corner of the site plan where those red triangles are. For visitors, right, we have an additional almost 100 extra spaces.
Okay.
And so when someone who's living there has a visitor, they can give them access, but visitors can't just drive in. again, when you get this demographic, security is extremely important. You can't have people just wandering in and out of your parking structure. So yes, so it's, someone who lives there, they'll be able to let their guests enter.
Okay, and I love the idea about the trees and the overhangs and to create shade. And, LEED certified, for those of you that don't know what LEED certified, that's a big deal in promoting sustainability. We have our transportation across the street that's LEED certified. And I ran that facility for a while, and we save a lot of money in water there. We have low lighting. We have a certain air conditioner unit that takes up a lot less energy. And so I'm really proud of you. I haven't heard LEED certification for a long time, so I'm really proud of you for doing that going in that direction, and that is really promoting sustainability. And speaking of sustainability, our EV charging stations, how are we doing in this project with EV charging stations?
Yeah, we'll do, I think it's 14 to start with.
Okay.
And then we'll retrofit it so we can have a total of 75.
Okay, very good. So that's helpful. And staff, it's my understanding that staff promotes this project, is in favor of this project. Is that everyone's understanding? Or so staff who are experts on this, there's Ryan and Jeff, that are experts in these kinds of buildings are supportive of it. So I think that's really important that they're subject matter experts. And I tell you what, that means a lot to me. And so thank you for taking time, Brian and Jeff, on this. And I will be supporting this project moving forward. Thank you.
Oh, one other thing, if I may, Mayor. That 3-bedroom, I got a text from my client, it's the penthouse.
The penthouse. Nice.
Sounds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for everyone's comments too also.
Councilmember Chin?
Mr. Woods, don't go too far. Please, come back up. And can you find me the slide that has the breakdown of units, parking, all of that? It is one that
going
has.
backwards again. Okay, here we go. Development standards.
Is that it? Is there another one that's similar to that?
This is the only
That
one
has
with-
the parking?
Parking is in the right-hand corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just need to clarify because I thought I heard two contradictory facts. So the first one is on guest parking. The design looks very nice. I am listening to your target market and audience and of young professionals that have the ability to afford the rents in this area. So my assumption also is that they will have guests. And I am concerned. I heard first no guest parking, and then I just heard you respond to the vice mayor that there would be guest parking. Can you clarify?
Sure. Mayor, Councilwoman Chen, there is no area that's defined as guest parking where someone can just pull in and park and then go and hit some kind of a security device to get entry. We've designed this with 100 extra spaces for two reasons. Number one, it's very possible that you may have a couple that lives there and they'll have 2 cars. So we have enough cars for them. But if someone is a visitor, right, and basically call in or whatever, and if they have a car, the tenant can let them into the parking structure. It's just that they can't have direct access as a visitor. They have to actually have access through a tenant that lives there.
So of the 271 stalls available for parking, they can be non-resident parking. They can be guests. There are some.
There are some where guests, they will not be designated as guest parking, for example. But yes, there will be parking for guests to the extent that, again, a resident allows them to enter.
And please understand, I'm just trying to understand if the impact on available parking in the surrounding area for guests that would impact our other residents. Okay, so with this demographic, my guess is they'll also participate in ride share. This is the ideal segment of the population, right? Target audience. Also, perhaps they, young professionals will rely on delivery services, whether it's for food delivery or package delivery. So I anticipate a high amount of traffic that way. I would urge you, because I don't see any dedicated space for that as a pickup, drop-off location. I know that there's 1 meter to the east of that site, a public meter, but I wouldn't count on that as a drop-off location, right?
Right.
Or pickup.
Yeah, Mayor, Councilwoman Chin, we will be working with staff on a dedicated area right outside the entry into the lobby that you can see here in the bottom left.
On Myrtle.
Right side for pickup and drop-off areas.
Okay. Also, and I just wanted to clarify this. You said that the intent was a minimum of 200,000 donation into the affiliate fund for Hometown for All?
Yes.
Okay.
And
All right.
it's a percentage of our fees, development fees.
Well, we already work with, the city already works with Hometown for All. Were you speaking of something on top of that,
I'm
an
talking
additional gift?
About the amount. So the amount, the minimum is 200,000. So let's say that the fees are $1 million, then it's 200,000. If the fees are $1.5 million, then it's 300,000.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Councilmember Keating?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Wood. I have a question for you.
Getting your steps in tonight.
Appreciate the presentation and of the time. And obviously, it's late for all of us. I wonder if, and this is not something you have to answer tonight, but just something to consider with your client, 'cause I don't understand this is coming back in September, right? Not August, or is it?
September 7th.
Thank you, Mayor. So just something to kick around. Maybe 20 workforce units to be 20 of the units to be designated workforce housing, and I have a suggestion on how to pay for that because it takes away from the bottom line, of course. Having just found out that there's a penthouse, having grown up poor in the Midwest, I think if you can afford a penthouse and a skyrise, you can probably pay a little bit more for that penthouse and a skyrise. So it's just something to consider before next read. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from council? Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
All right, seeing none.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Garland.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say that I appreciate what Councilmember Keating just said about the affordable housing. I love that idea, so I'd love to hear Nick noodle on that one a little bit. But I would like to say that I was really, after watching the DRC meeting, I was really disappointed and frustrated a little bit regarding the cultural sensitivity conditions and questions that were brought up. But I have to say, I'm very happy to see that there are conditions 8 and 9 that were put in that specifically state that you're going to be hiring a company, a qualified archaeologist firm to come in and monitor and just do the discovery of archaeological testing on the property. And then you're going to require people to take the cultural sensitivity test that is put out by the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. I think that the cultural sensitivity training is really important, and I just have to say I'm very happy that this has been included. So thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, Councilwoman Garland, at the DRC, I didn't have authority to agree to something, so I had to say no. But we talked about it that night and agreed it's the appropriate thing to do. So that's why it's back in as a stipulation.
I appreciate that because, we just read the land acknowledgement at the beginning of our council meeting. So we want to make sure that in everything we do, it's just not words. And this is one of those things. So thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Sounds good. Councilmember Navarre?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to say thank you. I mean, I appreciate all the comments, not only here, but in the audience, and just hearing everybody speak about the concerns of this development and where it's at and all that good stuff. I think that as a council as a whole, we'd like to take in consideration of all these factors and also all the factors that we've learned throughout the years of going through this process with other developments and where we're at today. I know that each development has its own set of criterias, and each development has its own merits in so many different ways. When we talked about the downtown area, we talked about the mixed use. We talked about Marabella. We were excited about Marabella because it was the different demographics that was going to be down in downtown Tempe. But we all knew that we're creating a downtown. We all knew that the downtown was going to be a downtown. We also knew that it was going to be vibrant. It's going to have music. It's going to have a different blend of people down here. The excitement of being in the downtown and by ASU is because of that. So I think when you talk about a product that comes into our city, we talk about good products. This is a good product as I'm seeing it right now. We talk about things like heat. Shade is like one of the biggest assets in the downtown. And there is nothing like a high rise that provides great shade when you're walking down these streets. So the vibrancy that has been created is what we're trying to do. I'm not going to lie. I've been a big component of high rise and trying to make a downtown smart, not to invade the neighborhoods that are nearby, and to craftily, gently spirit up towards the mountain, towards a mountain. But that's the excitement of the downtown area. The other thing of this is Salvation Army. Salvation Army had a spot that was not really turning over as much as they thought they would. But the thing is, they got to sell that land and make a tremendous amount of money to do what they do within their society, to help other people out, to have a better location, to provide better services at a better location. So there are wins there. There are wins on these whole things that come around. The fact that $200,000 goes into our affordable housing, that's a win still for us. Do you know that when we first started this, we were glad to get $30,000 from a development, and then it just kept on moving up. It's ridiculous how much money we're getting from this. This city, by far, no other city has gained as much money for affordable housing than this city by far. And I put anything on that. Check the Valley. Records are out there. And we're going to do things with that money in appropriate locations. Locations that are connected to light rail, locations that are connected to different types of transportational services. Looking outside the box. Ideas of $2 Uber rides. City pays for the rest. Salt Lake City does it. Why can't we? Getting people into the city effectively and efficiently. Programs like that help our residents out, but it helps the people that support our services here in the downtown area. So believe it, we look at everything when it goes into a development. Everything. And I know it's not going to be a win for everybody, and it might be disheartening here, disheartening there. Shoot, we didn't think, a lot of this stuff would turn out, and it did turn out. The thing is, we try to have trust in the process. We try to have trust in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to provide. So I think we try to take these ideas and we try to take these developments in the best way we can. We have a lot of time to chew on this, and hopefully we make a better project too at the end. That's all I have to say.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anyone else? Any further comments or questions on this item? All right. Once again, just want to reiterate, the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for September 7th, 2023. The next item under this section is 8B3, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 3, Section 2-134 of the Tempe City Code relating to the Community Services Department by adding a new section 2-134B relating to the establishment of park rangers and authorization for park rangers to issue citations of notices of violations. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Is there anyone, this is a public hearing, I want to make sure we recognize that first. Is there anyone here wishing to address the council on this item? If so, please get my attention. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Vice Mayor Adams.
Yes, I'm so excited to see the park rangers. I've been dreaming about this for 5 years. Literally, I drove the previous city manager crazy, I know, with bugging him about park rangers. When I was knocking on doors the first time I ran, I heard so many people want our park ranger program back. And I knew a lot of those park rangers back in the day, and they did such a great job, and they connected with the community members. They knew who was out there, and it was such a wonderful program. So I am so excited to have the park rangers back, and really thank Madam City Manager and some of our folks out in community services and things for making this happen. So thank you so much, and go Park Rangers.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Anyone else on council? Any further comments or questions on this item? All right, once again, just want to reiterate that the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for August 10th, 2023. The next item under this section is 8B4, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of a water line easement located on the northwest corner of Warner Road and Emerald Drive. This is also a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Seeing none, the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for August 10th, 2023. The next item under the section is 8B5, which is to introduce and hold a public hearing to adopt an ordinance abandoning an existing public utility easement on property located near Mill Avenue and 5th Street. Well, this is also a public hearing, interestingly. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the city council on this item?
I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was shocked. I will close the public hearing and once again ask if any other council members have any comments or discussion items. All right, hearing none, the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for August 10th, 2023. The last item under the section is 8B6, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the granting of a utility easement to Arizona Public Service Company over certain city-owned property identified by APN 124-63-013 and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an easement agreement and related documents. This is a public hearing as well. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Hearing none, the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for August 10th, 2023. Next up, that brings us to 8C, ordinances and items for second hearing and final adoption. The items will have had previous hearings, and there will be votes on these items taken tonight. And there's only actually one item under the section, which is 8C1, which is to adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment pursuant to the provisions of the Zoning and Development Code, Nunc Pro Tunc, to correct a scrivener's error in ordinance number 02023.23, previously adopted on May 4, 2023, for Rio 2100 residences located at 2132 East Cameron Way. Council, any comments or discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I think it was moved by Vice Mayor Adams and seconded by Councilmember Hodge. Please vote. And my screen is a little frozen here, but there we go. And that item passes unanimously 7-0. That brings us to item number 9, current events, council announcements, and future agenda items. I will call upon the council members for their comments, and this evening we're going to be starting with Councilmember Navarro.
This is a first. Hold on. I don't even know what I got. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Just want to let everyone know, August 16th, with my colleagues, Councilmember Hodge and Garland, we're going to be doing a opioid talk through communication with the community. Really want to get the kids and the community awareness, especially the parents, to start really getting engaged on what we're seeing within our community, what we're seeing within our society, really just kind of get another edge of awareness out there. So we're going to be hosting a conversation on this. I think it's going to be great information. The fact that the programs that we're doing here within the city of Tempe, programs that are going on locally, statewide, and nationally, and really have some communication on that. Also talk about some other ideas. I think this community has done a great job in providing that awareness, especially on the high school level, where every student within high school gets not only the compressions only CCR program, but they also get the opioid awareness program and what to look for and how drug addiction can start and the negative aspects of what happens when you do partake in that stuff. So please come on down to the Tempe Historical Museum right there on Southern, right next to the library, and that's going to be 5:30 Wednesday, August 16th. And then another one, I'm going to be starting a community conversation, and we're going to be talking about housing. And we're going to kick off, this is going to be a series of conversations that we're going to be doing hopefully every month for maybe about 3 or 4 months. But we're going to talk about a lot of things about housing, from shelter to extended care to affordable to workforce to market rate. This question, I mean, this was on tonight's agenda, right? People are concerned about where things are at and the type of housing we have and what we're doing within Tempe. We're going to talk about a broad communication on housing in general. We're going to take segments of this and try to kind of talk about the legal aspects, what cities can and can't do, the areas that we can and can develop within those areas. So a lot of communication on this. This is not just a education. This is also information and feedback from the community. Ideas have been generated from these coffee conversations. So it's a great idea to kind of get out there. If you have an interest, you have any inclination about housing, or you just want to know more, I think this is a great opportunity. Like I said, this is going to be a series of conversations that we're going to have. We're going to kick the first one off with more of a general overview of housing. And it's going to be at 5:30 p.m. Wednesday, September 13th at the Public Library, the Ironwood Room. So please come on by and let's have that discussion, and hope to see you guys there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Bavaro. Next up, we have Vice Mayor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things real quick. This Saturday is Zero Waste Day at Kiwanis Park. So sometimes it's not there, but this Saturday it is from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And you can bring your recycle, dispose of all those things that you no longer want, including hazardous waste, paint, electronics, lots of things. And to know exactly what you can recycle or bring down there, you can go to tempe.gov/zero waste. So please participate in that program. It's an awesome program. I don't know, David, if you're still in charge of it in your section, but it's a great program. So please participate. Also, Councilmember Chin and myself are going to be here at Council Chambers at 1 p.m. on Monday, August 21st for our next Sustainability and Economic Vitality Committee. That's so easy to say. And it will be available to watch on Tempe 11 if you can't come down in person. So we really encourage you to participate in this. We're going to be hearing about the state of our water resources in Tempe and get an update from our Sustainability Office on the International Green Construction Code policy, which we are very excited to continue to implement the Green Construction Zone policy. Thank you, and hope you'll join us, and thank you for all of your help. Good job, and thanks to staff for your hard work.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. Next up, I have Councilmember Chin. No announcements? All right, thank you so much. Let's next go to Councilmember Garland.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. So let's see what first slide I have. All right. So a long time ago, I came up with this idea and working with our staff about these backstage passes where we get to go to a location in the city and get to see kind of the backstage of how things happen, how they work, and the way things are made, which has really have been a lot of fun. This next one is we're going to get an close look at the improvements to Clark Park from our city team that put together and worked with the renovations. We're going to take a tour of the park and get updates on the pool, the community center, public art, and public improvements, such as lighting and pathways and things like that. So if you are interested in attending, it is Saturday, September 9th at 8 a.m. at Clark Park, 19th and Roosevelt. The space is limited to the first 60 people. So if you can, please get back to us as soon as you can if you can attend. RSVP, you could do that to my council aide, Madeleine McConville, and you can look on that on our website and be able to find that. So hopefully you can attend. That'll be a lot of fun. The next slide I want to tell you about, we have a project we started a while ago. It's taken a while to get this off the ground, but we have a Girl Scout patch, a new patch that was designed by a young lady in City of Tempe. Her name is Lila. She designed this patch, and the Girl Scouts we are going to work with the Girl Scouts to have this big kickoff on the 12th of August from 10 a.m. to noon at the Tempe History Museum. If you can RSVP, that'd be great. We'd love to know if you can come or if you're interested in coming to learn about the Girl Scout patch, work and meet with other Girl Scouts. One of the opportunities or areas to focus on is on Tempe history. So we'll be at the History Museum. So you'll actually be able to check off one of the very first items on the list of things you need to do to earn this Girl Scout patch. As a past Girl Scout and past Girl Scout leader, I'm really excited about this. We have over 150 people signed up already right now. So please RSVP for us so that we know how much snacks and drinks to provide, but we hope that you can attend, not only for the residents in Tempe, but staff, anybody else who wants to come, we'd love to have you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Next up, I've got Councilmember Hodge.
Thank you. August 5th, coming up very soon. I have my next Breakfast with Bernetta. I took the summer off. Now I'm back. The next one will have our deputy, it took the whole month, the whole 30 days of the summer off, for breakfast. But the next one will have our our new deputy city manager, Mr. Greg Reese, will have an introduction to our Tempe police, Mr. Ken McCoy, our interim fire, Mr. Daryl Duty, and our assistant superintendent from Tempe Union, Mr. Sean McDonald, and we're going to talk about safety and just in the city and just get to know everybody. And that's going to be at the Tempe Historical Museum on August 5th. And earlier, go ahead, I'm sorry. Okay, and earlier this week, the Tempe Development Review Commission voted on the general plan. We still have 2 more opportunities. They're both at City Hall. One is August 10th. The next one is August 24th. And one of my favorite things is Tempe Pre-K is once again in swing, and it's the 7th year of operation. They're fully staffed this time. They have 11 certified teachers and 20 assistants. Earlier this summer, I was invited to speak to the 2-day orientation at the library when they were all welcome back. Thank you, Naomi, for always inviting me. It was phenomenal to meet all of our teachers and assistants. And finally, it is National Wing Day on the 29th and July 29th, which is one of my favorite places. We couldn't find a picture of my favorite place, which is Native New Yorker. I love that place. I've loved it forever. We have 3 other ones that's really good is Blazing Buffalo Wings on Broadway, ATL on Warner and Kyrene. So, we had a chicken shortage. So it's about time now that we can go out there and enjoy some more wings again. So thank you. And I'm welcome back, everybody.
Thank you so much. Next up, Councilmember Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Hodge, for my money, the best wings in Tempe are at Four Peaks.
Okay.
They're very, very good. So, Mayor, I wanted to say this when the gentleman was speaking, but we can't react to public announcements. I don't know what that guy was talking about earlier with regards to our police force. I know that they're held in very high regard amongst our citizens and across leadership and policing in the Valley, and we certainly have your back. Look, I'm not going to question anybody, but I highly doubt he executed an arrest in Guadalupe, for that matter. But hey, the mayor and council have your guys' back. That was unfortunate, but we appreciate the job you guys do. Thank you.
To that?
Sure.
I just want to say one thing. Bill back there, we just came back from Noble and we had a phenomenal job, and Tempe showed out of all of it. We had the most people there at Noble. So I'm proud of that.
Thank you so much. I don't have any remarks this evening, which takes us to item number 10, public appearances. According to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council may only discuss matters listed elsewhere on this agenda for discussion and legal action. The purpose of the open call to the public is to allow individuals to address the City Council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the City Council. An additional aggregate total of 60 minutes is allotted for public appearances. No person shall speak more than once, and there is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers present at the podium must state their name and city of residence and provide a speaker card. Members of the public shall refrain from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks and from becoming boisterous while addressing the City Council or while attending the meeting. Council members are prohibited by state law from taking action on, commenting, or discussing a matter raised by a member of the public, even if asked to do so by a member of the public, so long as the subject discussed by the speaker is not listed as a specific agenda item for council's consideration for discussion and legal action. At the conclusion of public appearances, the council may ask the city manager to review a matter or place a matter on a future agenda. With that said, I've got one card here from Joseph Carton. please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Poco Joseph Cartoon. I know one of the people, I've been seeing the videos of for Best Buddies. I know Best Buddies a very long time ago, and I've been seeing this video of someone. I'm so happy for somebody help her out, but mothers. And all the mothers will belong together to be what we are. Because anything you know to his hearts always have to help people out. All the world you know about Tempe, Arizona, I want people to understand. I want to vote of people I trust. And one of the people I know is Hunt's family. You know. I know her son, Devin Hunt, because I've seen the video that I love my mom. I do too. And all the things I know, all the people you know, I want to be their side. I want to help them out. And what we care about people, I know, like Corey Woods, a long time ago. And now I wanted to learn more things about Tempe, Arizona. That's why I'm here be here, say this words, my word, to Hunt Corey Woods. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council under public appearances? If so, please get my attention. All right, hearing none, just want to announce that the next regular city council meeting is August 10th, 2023. Council, once again, we have a quick special meeting right after this, so just give us 60 seconds to turn things around. It'll be over in about 2 seconds. So with that said, we are adjourned, and we will see you all back here on August 10th. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tempe City Council Special Budget Meeting. Item number 1 is call to order. Council meetings can be watched in real time via Cox Cable Channel 11 and at tempe.gov/tempe11. Members of the public may also attend the meeting virtually through Microsoft Teams. And once again, the statement that I read earlier about proper conduct of city council meetings still applies for this special meeting. Item number 2, public hearing item is, first of all, it's 2A, hold the second and final public hearing to adopt the fiscal year 2023-2024 property tax ordinance. The first public hearing was held on June 15th, 2023. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? If so, please get my attention. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? If not, I will look for a motion on item 2A.
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Hodge. Seconded by Vice Mayor Adams. Please vote.
Aye. Mine won't go out.
And that item passes unanimously, 7-0. That brings us to item number 3, adjournment. We are adjourned.
Yay.